Okay, let's dive into Christmas. A holiday we think we know inside out, right?
Right. But even the name itself, well, it tells a story.
Christmas, short for Christ's Mass, seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, but then you get Xmas.
Ah, the X. People sometimes think that's like a modern way to take Christ out of Christmas.
But it's actually ancient. The X comes straight from the Greek letter chi.
Chi, which is the first letter in Christos, the Greek word for Christ.
Exactly. So it's actually a very old kind of scriptural shorthand, not lazy typing at all.
That's fascinating. And it wasn't always just called Christmas or Xmas, was it?
No, not at all. You had the Anglo-Saxons calling the period midwinter. Makes sense.
And we still use Yule, don't we?
We do. And Yule originally was just the Old English term for that whole December-January stretch. It only got specifically linked with Christmas later on.
So right from the very beginning, it's clear this holiday is a real mashup.
Absolutely. Layers of history, culture, religion.
And that's really what we want to explore in this deep dive, isn't it? To trace those tangled roots.
Yeah, the historical, the religious, the cultural, and even the economic threads.
We want to show you how we got from, say, ancient pagan traditions and solemn Christian beginnings.
Through periods of, well, medieval misrule, outright bans, then major revivals.
To the huge commercial event it is today, and maybe unpack that weird connection between historical chaos and modern economic ideas like dead weight loss.
It's quite the journey. Should be interesting.
Definitely. So let's start at the core. The nativity story itself. There are actually two different accounts in the Bible, right?
That's right. Luke and Matthew. And they paint pretty different pictures.
And crucially, neither mentions December 25th or snow or reindeer.
Not a word about the date. Luke gives us Joseph and Mary traveling to Bethlehem for a census.
The stable, the manger, angels appearing to shepherds. It's quite pastoral.
It is. Then Matthew's account is, well, much more dramatic.
That's where we get the Magi, the wise men following a star.
Right, bringing gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But that attracts the attention of King Herod.
Leading to the massacre of the innocents, the killing of young boys.
And the family having to flee to Egypt. So very different tones, different events highlighted.
If the core stories have these variations, how on earth did the church land on December 25th?
Well, that is the big question, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The date wasn't fixed immediately.
Took a while.
Yeah, it seems the church in Rome settled on December 25th sometime in the early 4th century. We have documentation, like the chronograph of 354, that mentions it happening in Rome by AD 336.
And the logic behind that specific date?
Well, the timing is interesting. It's exactly 9 months after March 25th.
March 25th being?
The date traditionally observed as the Annunciation.
Yeah.
You know, when the angel Gabriel told Mary she would conceive Jesus.
Ah, okay. So 9 months for pregnancy. That sounds neat, almost mathematical.
It does. And that leads us to the two main competing theories about why they chose December 25th.
Theory one?
It's the calculation theory. Basically what we just described. It was a theological calculation based on the assumed date of conception. Simple as that.
Okay, makes sense. And theory two?
Is the substitution theory. This one's maybe a bit more pragmatic or even political.
Go on.
This theory suggests the church strategically chose December 25th to overlap with and eventually replace a major Roman pagan festival.
Which festival was that?
Dies Natlis Solis Invicti, the birthday of the unconquered sun.
The sun god's birthday. When was that celebrated?
It was established in 274 AD, right around the winter solstice, and it came just after the huge week-long festival of Saturnalia.
Saturnalia.
Okay.
Famous for feasting, gift-giving, role reversals, general chaos, right?
Exactly. Massive public holidays. So the substitution theory argues the church saw this powerful midwinter celebratory energy.
And decided to channel it. Offer a Christian alternative on a date people were already celebrating.
Precisely. A kind of cultural appropriation or maybe rebranding, you could say. A way to draw people towards Christianity by using a familiar festive slot.
Wow, that makes Christmas sound like a brilliant piece of marketing almost.
It's certainly a compelling theory. And the debate between calculation and substitution is still active among historians.
And this wasn't even universally accepted right away, especially in the eastern part of the empire.
No, the Eastern Church had its own traditions. Initially, many in the East celebrated Jesus' birth linked with his baptism.
On Epiphany.
Yes, on January 6th. The focus was slightly different. The December 25th date, it spread east more slowly.
So Constantinople adopted it around 379, Antioch a bit later. It took time.
It did, which shows these things weren't centrally dictated overnight. Traditions evolved and spread regionally.
And that date difference, December 25th versus January, it still causes confusion today, doesn't it? Which brings us to calendar chaos.
It really does. Because it's not just ancient history. It affects how millions celebrate now.
The main split is between the Gregorian calendar and the Julian calendar.
Right. Most of the world, including Western Christianity, uses the Gregorian calendar, introduced by Pope Gregory III in 1582. Christmas is December 25th. Simple.
But parts of the Eastern Orthodox Church held on to the older Julian calendar.
Yes, important ones like the churches in Russia, Georgia, Serbia, Jerusalem, they still follow the Julian system for liturgical purposes.
And because the Julian calendar drifts against the solar year more than the Gregorian.
Exactly. There's a gap. Currently, it's 13 days.
So their December 25th actually falls on
January 7th
Yeah.
on our Gregorian calendar.
Yeah.
So when you hear about Orthodox Christmas celebrations in Moscow or Belgrade in early January, that's why. They're celebrating December 26th, just on a different calendar.
Got it. And then there's another twist with the Armenian Apostolic Church.
Right. They have a unique tradition. They actually preserve what might have been that very early Eastern practice,
Which is
celebrating Christ's birth and his baptism together.
separating them.
Nope. And they do this on January 6th, which they call Theophany.
Although even there's a calendar wrinkle.
For the Armenian Patriarchate in Jerusalem, yes. Because they operate within the Holy Land context, often using the Julian calendar for feast dates, their January 6th celebration actually lands on January 19th in the Gregorian system. It gets complicated.
Wow. Calendars really matter. And they can become political symbols too, right? Like the recent change in Ukraine.
Absolutely. That's a very powerful, very current example.
In 2023, Ukraine officially shifted its public Christmas holiday from January 7th
Which aligned with the Russian Orthodox Church's date.
to December 25th.
Exactly. It was an explicit move to distance the country culturally and religiously from Moscow and align more with Western Europe.
So choosing your Christmas date can be a profound statement about national identity, about where you see yourself in the world.
Without a doubt, it's far more than just picking a day on the calendar.
Okay, let's shift gears from dates and calendars to how people actually behaved at Christmas, especially back in the day. We mentioned Saturnalia and that pagan influence. Did that carry over into medieval Christmas?
Oh, absolutely. Big time. While the church obviously emphasized the religious aspect, once Christmas became a major public festival in the High Middle Ages, it took on a life of its own.
Not quite the quiet holy night.
Far from it, often. It was characterized by what historians call misrule.
Misrule. Sounds fun.
Well, it involved a lot of feasting, drinking, like heavy drinking. Gambling was common. Social hierarchies were often temporarily ignored or even inverted.
A bit like carnival.
Very similar energy. Lords of misrule were sometimes appointed. There was the tradition of the Yule Boar massive feast.
And caroling, I thought that was wholesome.
Originally, carols were more like songs accompanied by dancing, often in rowdy groups. Some clergy and moralists at the time actually condemned caroling as lewd or inappropriate.
So medieval Christmas was less about silent reflection and more about letting loose. A huge, messy, weeks-long party.
For many people, yes. And interestingly, gift-giving wasn't the central focus on Christmas Day itself back then.
Oh, when did gifts happen?
More commonly on New Year's Day. And it was often tied to social obligations, like tenants giving gifts to their landlords, that sort of thing. Less about family and friends like today.
That image of chaotic revelry, it helps explain why some groups later had such a problem with Christmas.
Precisely. Enter the Puritans.
Right. In the 17th century, they saw all this misrule and basically said, nope.
Exactly. They viewed Christmas as fundamentally unbiblical. There's no command in the Bible to celebrate Christ's birth on a specific day.
And they associated it with Catholic traditions, popery.
And paganism. All that feasting and drinking felt like pagan excess, not Christian piety. So they decided to ban it.
They actually banned Christmas.
They did. In England, the parliament dominated by Puritans banned it in 1647 during the Civil War period.
Wow, how did that go down?
Not, well, everywhere.
Yeah.
There were actually pro-Christmas riots in some places, like Canterbury. People missed the celebrations.
And they brought that attitude to America.
Yes. The Puritans in New England were even stricter in some ways. Boston outlawed the celebration of Christmas in 1659 for over 20 years.
It's hard to imagine Christmas being illegal.
It is. Even after the ban was lifted in England in 1660 with the Restoration, the holiday took a long, long time to regain its popularity, especially in America. It kept that slightly suspect, non-essential reputation for many.
How long did it take for the U.S. to formally recognize it?
Think about this. Christmas wasn't declared a federal holiday in the United States until June 28, 1870.
1870, almost a century after the country was founded.
Exactly. And even in Scotland, which had its own strong Presbyterian reservations similar to Puritanism, Christmas only became a public bank holiday in 1871. Boxing Day took even longer.
That really reframes how central we think Christmas has always been. It had some very down periods.
It certainly did. But amidst all the conflict and suppression, sometimes you get these unexpected moments, like the Christmas truce in World War I,
Ah, yes, 1914. That's such a powerful story.
isn't it? Along parts of the Western Front, soldiers from opposing sides, British, French, German, spontaneously stopped fighting around Christmas.
Was stopped?
Yeah, it ranged from just agreements not to shoot to soldiers actually climbing out of the trenches into no man's land.
What did they do?
They talked, they exchanged gifts like cigarettes or food, sang carols together, buried their dead. There are famous accounts, even photos of them playing football games.
In the middle of a brutal war.
It's seen as this incredible, brief moment of shared humanity overpowering the conflict. A symbol of peace, however temporary and unofficial it was. The high commands on both sides were not pleased and made sure it didn't happen again.
A beautiful but fragile moment. Sadly, that kind of state suppression of Christmas didn't end there. We saw it again in the 20th century.
Absolutely. Under state atheism, the Soviet Union actively suppressed public Christmas celebrations.
They didn't ban winter celebrations entirely, though.
No, they cleverly shifted the focus. The decorated tree, the gift-giving figure Dead Morose's, or Grandfather Frost, the big festive meal, all that got transferred to New Year's Eve, making it a secular state holiday instead.
Interesting way to redirect the traditions.
And Nazi Germany also tried to reshape Christmas. They aimed to remove the Jewish origins and Christian elements
How?
by emphasizing pre-Christian Germanic pagan roots, promoting solstice celebrations, changing carol lyrics, putting swastikas on top of Christmas trees, basically trying to Nazify the holiday according to their ideology.
Chilling. And even today, there are places where Christmas celebrations are restricted or banned.
Yes, in a few Muslim-majority countries like Somalia or Brunei, there have been official bans on public Christmas celebrations, sometimes citing concerns that they could undermine the nation's Islamic faith.
So the history of Christmas is really marked by these waves of popularity, suppression, and transformation.
Definitely. And the version of Christmas many of us know today, with the specific decorations and traditions, really started to take shape and become popular in the 19th century.
Okay, let's unpack some of those key traditions, starting with the look, the colors. Red, green, and gold. Do they have specific meanings?
They do, within Christian symbolism. Red is generally taken to represent the blood of Jesus, shed during the crucifixion.
Okay.
Green symbolizes eternal life, hope, and growth, which is why evergreen plants like holly, ivy, and of course the Christmas tree itself are so important.
And gold.
Gold represents royalty, Christ, as the King of Kings, and it also connects back to the gifts brought by the Magi, one of which was gold.
Speaking of the tree, where did that tradition actually come from? It feels ancient, but maybe it isn't?
It's strongly associated with Germany. The earliest clear records of decorated trees specifically for Christmas come from German Lutherans in the 16th century.
The Lutherans, so a Protestant tradition initially.
Seems so. One of the very first mentions is of a tree in Strasbourg Cathedral around 1539. German immigrants, particularly Lutherans and Moravians, brought the custom to the U.S.
Were they the ones who put candles on them? Seems risky.
The Moravians are often credited with popularizing candles on the trees. And yes, definitely risky.
So how did it become so globally popular?
A huge boost came from Britain in the mid-19th century. Queen Victoria's husband, Prince Albert, was German.
Ah, the German connection again?
Exactly. In the 1840s, illustrations were published showing the royal family gathered around their decorated Christmas tree at Windsor Castle.
And everyone wanted to copy the royals.
Pretty much. That image was widely circulated and made the Christmas tree incredibly fashionable in Britain, America, and across the Commonwealth.
What about the nativity scene, the creche? Where did that tradition start?
That one is popularly attributed to St. Francis of Assisi.
Really? How so?
In 1223, in Greccio, Italy, he apparently wanted to help people visualize the humble circumstances of Jesus' birth. So he set up a living nativity scene with real people and animals in a cave.
A living nativity?
Yeah. And the idea caught on and spread, eventually evolving into the model scenes we see today. It was a way to make the story more immediate and relatable.
Okay, so we have the tree, the nativity. Now for the big one. the gift giver, Santa Claus. He seems like such a fixed figure, but his history is really tangled, isn't it?
Oh, incredibly tangled. Modern Santa is like a blend, a synthesis of several different figures and traditions over centuries.
Where does it start?
The earliest root is Saint Nicholas, a real person, a Greek bishop in the 4th century in what's now Turkey.
Known for?
Generosity, especially towards children and the poor. There are many legends about him secretly leaving gifts. His feast day is December 6th.
Okay, so St. Nicholas. How did he become Father Christmas or Santa?
Well, his veneration spread across Europe. In the Netherlands, he became Sinterklaas, still celebrated on December 6th or the evening before, arriving by boat, riding a white horse, leaving gifts in shoes.
Sinterklaas sounds familiar.
Exactly. Dutch colonists brought that tradition to New Amsterdam, which later became New York.
But then the Reformation happened, right? Protestants weren't so keen on saints.
Right. Figures like Luther wanted to shift the focus away from saints and onto Christ himself.
So who did they suggest should bring the gifts?
Luther promoted the idea of the Christ kindle, the Christ child, as the gift bringer.
The baby Jesus delivering presents.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And importantly, Luther moved the date of gift-giving from St. Nicholas's Day, December 6th, to Christmas Eve, to tie it directly to Christ's birth.
And Christ Kindle, that name got transformed too.
It did, especially in English-speaking areas. It got corrupted over time into Kris Kringle.
Wow, so Kris Kringle is actually the Christ child.
Linguistically, yes. It's kind of amazing.
So we have St. Nicholas Sinterklaas and the Christ Kindle Kris Kringle. How do we get to the jolly, red-suited guy in the sleigh?
That image was largely shaped and solidified in the United States, especially in 19th century New York. Washington Irving's satirical writings helped popularize the Sinterklaas figure.
And the famous poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas."
Attributed to Clement Clarke Moore, that poem was hugely influential in defining the look, the sleigh, the reindeer coming down the chimney.
But the visual image, the red suit, the beard.
A lot of credit for standardizing that iconic look goes to the German-American cartoonist Thomas Nast.
Nast, the political cartoonist.
The very same. Starting in the 1860s, his drawings for Harper's Weekly, often depicting Santa visiting Union troops during the Civil War, established that familiar image, jolly, bearded, red suit, though sometimes other colors early on, North Pole Workshop.
So modern Santa is a mix of a Greek saint, Dutch folklore, German Protestant tradition, and American literary and artistic invention.
Pretty much. A wonderful historical melting pot. And different cultures still blend them. In some Latin American countries, the tradition is that Santa makes the toys, but it's the baby Jesus who actually delivers them on Christmas Eve.
A compromise.
Exactly.
Okay, we've journeyed through history, calendars, traditions. Now let's hit that economic dimension we mentioned at the start. Christmas is just massive for business.
It's colossal. For many retail sectors, it's the make or break season. It's essentially the engine of consumer spending for the last quarter of the year in many countries.
When does the shopping season even start now? Feels earlier every year.
It does creep earlier. In the U.S., you see Christmas decorations and promotions appearing sometimes even before Halloween now, definitely by early October.
Yeah.
In the U.K., it's usually full swing by mid-November.
And the spending surge is real.
Oh, absolutely. There's older data, for example, from the U.S. back in 2004, showing just how dramatic it is. Bookstores saw sales jump by 100% in December compared to other months.
Wow.
Jewelry stores, up by 170%. It's a huge injection of cash into the economy.
But you teased this economic counterpoint earlier, the concept of deadweight loss. That sounds less cheerful.
It's a standard microeconomic concept applied to gift giving. It's not meant to be anti-Christmas, just an observation about economic efficiency.
Okay, explain it simply. What is deadweight loss in this context?
Basically, it's the idea that a gift might be valued less by the person receiving it than what the person giving it actually spent on it.
Because maybe it's not something you would have chosen for yourself.
Exactly. Think about getting, say, a sweater that cost the giver $50. But maybe you don't really like the style or it doesn't fit perfectly. If you were buying it for yourself, you might only be willing to pay $20 for it, or perhaps nothing at all.
Okay.
That difference, in this case $30 between the purchase price and the recipient's perceived value, is considered a loss of economic value, or deadweight loss. The resources spent, $50, didn't generate $50 worth of satisfaction or utility for the recipient.
I see. So it's about mismatched value.
Precisely. And when economists try to estimate this across the millions and millions of gifts exchanged at Christmas,
The total loss adds up.
it can be quite significant. One study back in 2001 estimated the deadweight loss from Christmas gift giving in the U.S. alone could be around $4 billion. Other estimates vary, and some argue the emotional value offsets this, but the core economic point remains.
That's a fascinating, if slightly sobering, perspective on gift giving. It makes you think about gift cards or just giving cash, maybe.
Economically, cash is often seen as the most efficient gift, as the recipient can use it to buy exactly what they value most. But of course, gift-giving isn't purely about economic efficiency.
True. Okay, one last area before we wrap up. The modern cultural tensions. We sometimes hear about the war on Christmas. What's that actually referring to?
It's a term often used in conservative circles, particularly in the U.S., referring to the perception that the religious significance of Christmas is being downplayed or censored in the public sphere.
Examples.
Things like schools opting for winter concerts instead of Christmas concerts, or companies instructing employees to say Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas.
Or the controversy over holiday trees instead of Christmas trees.
Exactly. Those sorts of linguistic shifts or policy changes are often framed by critics as an attack on Christian traditions or an attempt to secularize the holiday excessively.
On the other side, the argument for using terms like Happy Holidays is usually about inclusivity, right?
Yes. The argument is that late December is also when other significant holidays occur, most notably the Jewish festival of Hanukkah and Kwanzaa as well. So Happy Holidays is seen as a more inclusive greeting that acknowledges the diverse celebrations happening around the same time.
Has this ever ended up in court, like the legality of public Christmas displays?
It has. A key case was Lynch versus Donnelly, decided by the U.S. Supreme Court in 1984.
What was that about?
It involved a city-sponsored Christmas display in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, which included traditional elements like a Santa Claus house, a tree, but also a nativity scene, a creche.
And the court said?
The court ruled, controversially for some, that the display, including the nativity scene, was constitutional.
What was their reasoning?
They argued that while the nativity scene obviously has religious meaning in the context of the overall holiday display, it also served a legitimate secular purpose, recognizing a historical event, depicting the origins of a national holiday, and celebrating the season in a traditional way. It passed what's known as the Lemon Test at the time, though legal standards evolve.
So the courts have generally allowed some level of public recognition, seeing it as partly cultural and historical, not purely religious endorsement.
Broadly speaking, yes, though the specifics are always debated and depend heavily on context. It remains a sensitive area in the culture wars.
Okay, what a journey. We started with the name Christmas itself being a blend of languages and history.
Trace the murky origins of the December 25th date, looking at Roman sun gods and theological math.
Navigated the calendar chaos between Julian and Gregorian, January 7th and January 6th.
Explored the wild misrule of medieval Christmas, contrasted with the Puritan bans.
Touched on that incredible moment of peace in the WWI trenches.
Unpacked the German roots of the Christmas tree and the complex character synthesis behind Santa Claus.
And finally looked at the massive economic impact and the slightly uncomfortable idea of deadweight loss, plus those ongoing cultural debates.
It really shows how Christmas isn't static. It's constantly evolving, absorbing influences, sparking controversies, reflecting the societies that celebrate it.
So thinking about everything we've discussed, what's the final thought we want to leave you, the listener, with as you head into whatever form your own winter celebrations take?
Well, we talked about how medieval Christmas was often this period of, chaotic, communal, misrule, feasting, drinking, turning norms upside down.
Yeah.
Very different from our often more private, family-focused ideal.
And we also talked about how modern economists see today's commercialized gift-giving, despite its intentions, as potentially causing this huge deadweight loss due to inefficiency.
So here's the question to maybe ponder. As the celebration shifted over centuries from that communal, sometimes wasteful, but perhaps genuinely exuberant ancient chaos, towards a more structured, commercially driven, obligation-focused event, where does the real spirit of Christmas lie?
Is it closer to the perhaps inefficient but personally motivated modern act of giving gifts? Or did it have more resonance back in that historical, unruly shared excess? When did the focus shift so much from communal revelry to individualized commercial exchange?
Something to think about, perhaps, as you navigate the season, whether you celebrate on December 25th, January 7th, or January 6th.
That was our deep dive for today. We hope it gave you some new perspectives on a familiar holiday.